Welcome to the One Lane Road podcast.
Well, we got a big episode, and this is something a little different tonight. We've already recorded our interview.
And we're going back and going to play that one. But, boy, was it a good interview.
Yeah,
man.
I was really looking forward to it. Just more I've listened to his music more and more and done some research on him. He's got a good little following going for him. And some of the things that has been said about him online, people really putting him over pretty strong. And just old traditional country music. I mean, it sounds like he could be put in a hot tub time machine and go back to the 80s. And, he's just some authentic 80s, 90s country music stuff you're not hearing right now. It's Andrew Pope. We've been talking to him off and on the last few weeks, a couple months, trying to work up the right time. And
What is this?
that's some Shooter Jennings.
That's some
right
Shooter
there.
Jennings coming. Go ahead and hit stop on that.
Sure is. Oh, it's my phone.
Yeah, that's your phone.
That's Rhinestone Eyes. Go buy the album Shooter wherever music is. Wherever you get your music at.
Sorry about that, Andrew Pope.
But anyway, well, we talk about plenty of Shooter, but it was a great time to have him. It's a very long interview, so I hope.
Hey, but it's a good one. Y'all hang in there for this one. This has got everything in it. Andrew Pope is a guy from a small town, buddy, and he's done all the shit that we've done, and he's interested in all the stuff that we are. So this is a really good one. So if y'all are. If y'all like the country music, and let's go ahead and just turn that off.
I don't know what's causing that. I'm sorry, but for all you guys that are old school, or not old school, he's not been around that long, but for actually the guys that are here for Andrew Pope, hope you enjoy, guys, our buddies that listen every week. I'm glad to have you. You're going to enjoy this. I know a lot of the Allens. Curtis Rich was excited to hear this one. Curtis is going to call me out like last week. He was putting over Andrew pretty hard on Twitter, and I said, he's any time or any day. And I said, any day Andrew Pope will be on the One Lane Road podcast. And Curtis said, are you really stealing the thunder off my tweet? I said, you damn right. I said,
stole it.
I said, who just introduced you to every good artist you know? I said, brother, you damn right I am.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
So, and wrestling nerds, you're going to catch it at the end.
If anybody that was looking for some wrestling, there's some
90s.
Some wrestling happening.
We got into it.
They got in it.
So anyway, and once again, if the new listeners, we're Dustin and Lucas, the One Lane Road podcast, and you can find us all over Twitter and Instagram. We're glad to have you. Give us a like and subscribe on iTunes if you're feeling this interview. And just some good old boys talking about some regular stuff, man.
Yeah.
Never meaning no harm, that kind of thing. So here it is. Here's our interview with Andrew Pope. Okay, welcome back from the break, guys. And right now we're joined by recording artist and singer-songwriter Andrew Pope. Man, how are you tonight?
Howdy. Doing good. How about y'all?
Doing good.
We're good. Where are you coming to us from tonight?
I'm in Huntsville, Alabama.
Oh, Alabama. Oh, Huntsville. Now, isn't that where the big spaceship's at when you drive through the middle of Alabama?
Oh, Lord, yeah. They got the big space and rocket center here.
Oh, yeah.
And that's about where we went on all of our field trips.
Yeah, unfortunately, right? You got one that close. It's the only place you get to go.
Yeah, originally I'm from a small town up in northeast Alabama called Geraldine. And it's in DeKalb County, which is the same county that the band Alabama's from, in Fort Payne. Fort Payne's kind of the city, and Geraldine's kind of the town. But
right.
I run into Randy and Jeff and Teddy in Walmart as a kid growing up.
Isn't that wild? Yeah, they don't even seem famous at that point, do they?
Yeah, it's kind of weird, man. But man, I love the small town thing. I ended up here because I got drunk for a minute and went up to Nashville and thought it was a good idea. It turned out to be a bad idea. And ended up back here, and I thought, well, I need to go up there. I can hop on 65, and I can be up there in a couple of hours.
Right.
So
didn't want to get into wearing the skinny jeans like everybody else is doing up there, or what?
No, I'd split them in two, man. I ain't wearing them.
Yeah, you need some skinny jeans and a backwards trucker hat to be a good look for you here now.
Yeah, and some rhinestones on my jeans. Like on the back pockets.
On them pockets,
like
that's
Tim
right.
McGraw was wearing for a while.
Yeah, there you go.
If Tim McGraw was the worst of Nashville's troubles, they'd be doing all right.
Hey, but
Go ahead. I saw him in Birmingham, I think in 2002. He had them jeans on, and I was like, how are you even turning around?
He passed them.
They look like it's custom fit for him.
Well, he passed them down to Luke Bryan, so.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't keep up with them boys, but
yeah, there ain't much reason to.
No, not in my book.
You said that name a while ago, and of course, I'm not going to get into it. I'm going to hold it off to the end. But you brought up Randy Owens, and this is something you'll appreciate. I was watching on the WWE Network the other day an old WCW Saturday Night from 1992, and Randy Owens.
Jim Ross.
Yeah, Jim Ross and Randy Owens was the special guest that night. He was interviewing Ravish and Rick Rude.
Yeah, I think, they used to do that big June Jam in Fort Payne every year, man. They had Ricky Van Shelton there. They had Garth before he hit it big. They had Trish. That was one of Trisha Yearwood's first concerts ever, I think. That was a big deal, man. Fort Payne, they did all kinds of stuff. And I think they're doing for that some kind of cross-promotional deal. So they had Jim Ross and Sting and some of the wrestlers come to Fort Payne to make an appearance at that June Jam, and then they sent Randy to Atlanta to be on that show. But yeah, he interviewed Rick Rude or something.
Yeah, I don't remember it as a kid. I mean, I watched every WCW Saturday Night there was, but of course my love for Alabama hadn't surfaced yet when I was 8 years old, really. So.
Oh yeah.
But now looking back, I thought, well, that's kind of cool, because that would never happen on
it is
like a WWF broadcast. That was definitely you can tell that the Southern ties that WCW had back in the day. But.
Yeah, man, and Randy. Oddly enough, I don't know Randy that well. I know Jeff pretty good, but Randy, the night that I met him, was a songwriter showcase that they were doing, and he was doing it with a couple of other hit songwriters, and he introduced me to them while we were there, and that ended up leading to my very first co-write, and it was a co-write with Jim McBride, which he's another Alabama boy, but he's been in Nashville for years now. Mm-hmm. He wrote little songs, like Chasing That Neon Rainbow, Chattahoochee, little songs.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 people's heard of them.
Yeah. Maybe 4 or 5.
And then, and then Frank Myers was the other guy, and he wrote some songs for Alabama. I think he wrote Reckless and Once Upon a Lifetime or something. And I Swear for John Michael Montgomery. So that was my first co-write. I thought I was a songwriter until I was in there, the room with them guys.
With monsters.
And I learned real quick I wasn't.
Yeah, right. You figure out what life's taught you and what it hadn't yet, right?
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, they taught me so much how to structure a song.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the melody and the words and everything. I just needed to put it in a little better structure and kind of be better with my words. If you go back and listen to my very first album, it's called Here We Go. I did it on a little independent label. I wrote every song on there, and I'm not real. I mean, I'm proud of that record, but at the same time, it's far from my best work. But they say your first album, is kind of like that for a lot of people. So,
well, now we're mid-30s. We're 34 and 33, and you're around that same age, ain't you?
Yeah, I'm 33 now, yeah.
Okay, so when was that? When did you start writing? When did you start recording? How old was you when you started writing with those guys?
I wrote my first song after going through my divorce. I wrote my first song and I got divorced. I think it was I was 21.
Ooh.
Married when I was 23. I got married when I was 21.
Okay.
And divorced when I was 23, and I think I wrote that the song called "Tonight I Feel Like Hell." Mm. I never recorded it or nothing. I mean, it was one of them things you just had to get it out.
Right.
And then once I got it out, I realized that I had more to get out, and then I couldn't stop it.
Right.
And it just kind of went from there. That's the songwriting part of it. But I mean, as far as music, I don't ever remember a time when there wasn't music around. My grandma was big in church, and I have a deep love for Southern gospel music. And then Mama liked Hank Jr. and Waylon and all that, and I had a deep love for that. And then Skinner was around, and all that. I just had a good mesh of all the good music back in that time, and I think all that kind of made me who I am. But I took piano lessons when I was, I think, 5 or 6. And that's how I kind of got started learning how to And then the piano taught me how to play the guitar. Because I just picked up a guitar. I think I was 14 when I picked up a guitar. I wanted to play around with it.
So you pretty well self-taught about that then?
Yeah, I sat there and I think Dixieland Delight actually was the first song I learned to play on the guitar. Either that or Tuesday's Gone. Because that's my favorite song of all time, is Tuesday's Gone, by Leonard Skinner.
It's a good one.
But I sat there and picked out everything I could and just listened to it until it sounded as close as it could, and then took it from there.
Well, you talking about that first album, that Here We Go. If Waylon Could See Us Now, that's the first song I ever found of yours, and that was just kind of by dumb luck, kind of searching around, found you a few years ago with that song.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was before really I dug into your album, into your library. I came back with Stoned on the One a couple years ago, but I remember hearing that song, and I'm a big Waylon fan. Actually, my firstborn, I named him Waylon. He's 11 years old, so that's a couple things. Yeah, that's a couple things that we'll have in common as the interview goes on. That's why when I found you, I thought, man, between some of the things that he's posted online, then I found out some other your interest. I thought, man, I got to get here and talk to this guy. We got to get him on the podcast. So,
oh yeah, man, I love Waylon, and Hank Jr. to me is the top as far as artist, songwriter, singer. I mean, there ain't nobody got a voice like that.
That's it.
But Waylon's right underneath him by not much to me.
For me, and that's why I was so anxious to talk to you, because that's my 1A and 1B. I mean, if Hank was as cool, if Hank was as cool a name as Waylon, my kid probably would have been named Hank. But I just like the name Waylon a little cooler. But Hank, I agree with you. Me and you just talked about this on Twitter back and forth a few weeks ago, or a couple. I just at one point in the early '80s, anytime you got an artist, you can have other people can have their George Straits and their Garth Brooks, but I mean, when Hank Jr.'s got 9 albums on the charts in the early '80s, between
at the same time, yeah.
Well, tell me the last time that's happened. It hasn't. And I was just looking with a guy from my work today, those albums, and it's unbelievable what he went through from 1980 to say, really late '80s. But
man, it really is. That run of albums, that first 12 albums there, from Hank Jr. and Friends all the way to, I think, Major Moves. I mean, it may go even past that, but whatever 12 from that album up is the best run of albums. And that's how Shooter Jennings is a good friend of mine. And that's kind of how we got connected. We were talking Hank Jr. and he thinks the same way. And I just never met anybody else that even realized all of that.
And we'll get into Shooter a little bit later. But that's actually, I think that's where I rediscovered you, was through Shooter's Twitter and you guys going back and forth. And I was like, hey, I'm right in here with these guys in this conversation, because like I said, Hank Jr. to me, and it goes into, I mean, you could put Hank Jr. singing Wheels on the Bus and that shit'll be good for me. I mean, it's just,
oh yeah.
It really, even that later in the mid-90s stuff when he was struggling to get a hit, and he put out a song like Sometimes I Feel Like Joe Montana. I mean, even that hit with me. You know what I mean?
Me too. That was on Stormy.
Yeah, and then had They All Want to Go Wild and I Just Want to Go Home and stuff like that you can relate to as you get older.
Bill Gold and all that on there. Yeah, that was a good record.
Yeah.
I think Curb, he was with Curb at that time, and everybody's kind of had their say about Curb, but I think he was kind of wasn't getting promoted the right way or something, and took him a long time to get out of his deal. But man, yeah, that was a good record. I love the Out of Left Field record that he did, I think, in '93.
Yeah.
Which got zero promotion. I think the only song on there that got a music video was that Diamond Mine or something like that. I mean, it wasn't the best song on the record, but it was a Hank song. I mean, only he could do a song like that. That's the thing about him. Some of the stuff, like that song on Wild Street, the song Wild Street, the first song on that record, Wild Street, only he could pull that off.
Yeah.
If you listen to it, it's just only Hank Jr. could do that. That's just totally Bo Cephas.
I just love when I see him in concert. I'm just in awe, and a lot of people get pissed off when they watch him because he does like medley, and they're saying, "Man, he's so drunk he can't even remember his songs." I'm like, dude, he's been singing these songs for 30. It's just he likes to change it up,
man. He's just doing his thing. That's it, and I love it. I hope he does it until he just can't possibly do it no more. I'd love to hear him get with Dave Cobb or Shooter or somebody like that, and him let them produce a record on him. I think that would be the best thing in the world, and I'd sit right there.
I told Shooter. Go ahead, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you.
No, I was done.
I told Shooter backstage at a show in 2015 in East Tennessee. I said, we were talking back and forth about albums, and luckily John Hensley let me backstage before the show, and there was only like 7 or 8 of us. And I said, what I would give to either have you do like a duets album with Jamie and those guys, or I said I would love to see you work with Hank Jr. on anything. He said, "Oh man," he said, "I'd give anything to get in there and work with him." And that's like a dream for me to see those two work together, and the things that Hank can do. Even that last album that he put out when it said, just call me Hank, don't call me an icon. I don't care about the Hall of Fame. I mean, that's just Hank.
Mm-hmm.
That's just,
yeah, it is. And it would take somebody like me or Shooter or you or somebody that really knows Hank and knows who he is as an artist, and could just kind of let him do his thing and not try to make it sound too modern. Just let it sound like what it's going to sound like.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I was a little disappointed when he started kind of getting in with some of these newer artists, and I get it. He's relevant. It keeps him relevant. But you're Hank Williams Jr. You don't have to be on the Monday Night Football video with Florida Georgia Line. It crushed me when I seen that he was coming back with a video finally on Monday Night Football, but he brought Florida Georgia Line, and he's bringing down guys like Justin Moore on his album. I'd rather see.
Yeah, I think that he just, I think he's just kind of like, well, whatever.
Yeah.
I just feel like he's just like, well, whatever. It ain't him making the decision. He's just along for the ride, I guess. But yeah, I know what you mean.
What's some songs of Hank Jr.'s that you push to people that may not know Hank Jr.? Because my buddies have always said, they always know the family traditions and the Born to Boogies. I'm thinking, man, you got to get in there and you got to find I've Got Rights and I've Been Down and Mr. Weatherman and Dinosaur.
Yeah.
And man, you're talking about the 1974-75. You're talking about Feeling Better.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's it.
I just ain't been able to write no song.
Well, I love it. What is
Weatherman? I mean, Outlaw's Reward. Shoot, 2 Dot Montana. Whole Lot of Hank.
That's a good
I
one.
love his Skinner version, Made in the Shade, on the Strong Stuff record. OD in Denver. Tired of Being Johnny Be Good. I could go on.
We can do this all night.
Yeah, really.
Now you talked about Tuesday's Gone being your favorite album or song of all time.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about Hank's recording of that?
I liked it, and Gary's on there too. He's got him. Yeah. I don't know if y'all knew that. Gary's on the record playing that, and he does a totally different lead thing in there. And I thought it fit pretty good. I liked it. I love that whole record. I mean, I like all his records, but that was a good one. I love I'm Just a Man and You Brought Me Down to Earth is on that record.
I was just clicking through his discography here. 40 records since 1964. He's let out 40 records.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, who else has done that besides Dolly or
right.
Bill Anderson? No.
Yeah, that don't happen.
I think Bill Anderson's on his 75th one or something now.
Holy crap.
That's unbelievable.
It's insane, man.
What's your go-to Waylon songs?
My go-to would probably be I've Always Been Crazy, and I know that's a popular one, but I also loved his version of Can't You See.
Oh, yeah.
I Recall a Gypsy Woman's a good one. Man, I could go on all day with him, too.
I tell you one of mine. It's off the beaten path a little bit that you don't hear every day, and see what you think about it. You familiar with a long time ago?
Oh yeah, that's a good one too.
It's one of my favorites, and not everybody knows about.
And Waylon and Richie Albright, which was in Waylon's band, they produced the New South.
Yeah.
On Hank Jr.
And he says, he's got that Waylon and Toy and all them boys.
That's it. You've been to school like I have, brother. We're a clique. Shooter talks about that. We're all a clique. It's like the people that know this kind of stuff it's almost like second nature. You don't even have to think about it. It's just right there. And it's just like you said, a lot of people know family tradition. A lot of people know Whiskey Bent, but to know these songs, that's a true Hank fan right there.
Unfortunately, man, I've drunk a lot of.
He's had more than his fair share of cold beverages at Hank Williams Jr. concerts, and 2 Hank Williams Jr. songs.
Yeah, that's what.
There's a coffee table that's had Dinosaur song on it. I'm going to guess around 700, 800 times if I had to just put a number on it.
My old college apartment, we had an old coffee table, and it really, we finally threw that away out of the damn store just a couple years ago, and it killed me because there's a lot of nights we just raised hell and sing Hank and Waylon. In 2003, 2004, the top of our lungs, law called on us.
Yeah, it don't get no better.
Yeah.
Anytime I'm sitting around with a guitar, a Hank song or two is going to come out. Because that's just where I go.
Well, I tell you
that's where my head goes.
Yeah,
we're down here in Tennessee, of course, and everybody drinks Jack Daniels here because it's the Tennessee whiskey. But not me. I was always a Jim Beam guy, solely 150% only because Hank Jr. always sang about Jim Beam. That was my influence for drinking Jim Beam over Jack Daniels.
Man, I actually like Jim Beam too. I like Jack too. Jack can be smooth. I like the Black Label.
Did we just become best friends?
Too. We go do karate in the garage.
Yeah.
I don't mind if we put our beds in bunk beds at the end of the show. So much more room for activities.
Yeah.
But we, that's what I like about Shooter's new album. Of course, we've almost talked about Shooter about every show, and he's a real big influence on this show as far as both of us being fans.
Well, he should be, man. He's a great artist, and he's a good man, more than that.
I got a little fired up on last week's show about Shooter's new record because I really love the new record, and I love that he's finally put it out, because he toyed with country music with the first 3 records and Black Ribbons, and a lot of people jumped off the Shooter bandwagon with Black Ribbons, and I think he got them back a little bit with Family Man and Other Life. Then he put Countach out, and they're like, man, what the hell is Shooter doing? But I dug it because I like the balls that it took to put those albums out. But
that's it, and he's his own artist. He's not the junior thing with him. He has worked so hard to get away from that.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of respect for Shooter because of that. He's really he's always going to have that name. And his mama's always going to be Jesse Coulter. His daddy's always going to be Waylon Jennings. But I think now he's more comfortable just expressing that,
Yeah, I think he tried to...
Not being afraid to be, But yeah, it's a great album, man. He actually sent that record to me, I think in January. We sat out on the bus and listened to it somewhere. And I was like, man, I told him, I was like, this is your Shades and Hues is my song on there.
That is.
I was like, man, this is my favorite work you've ever done. And your writing's great. You're singing. I mean, you're right in your wheelhouse.
It just shows you how naturally that comes to him if he chooses to go down that road. And Shades and Hues, I mean, he kept referencing that. This is my Hank Jr. record, which made me excited because it's my all-time favorite musician and my the modern favorite musician I have. And for those to click, and you're right with Shades and Hues, of course, he makes the Hank Jr. references, but man, that sounds like something straight out of 1985, doesn't it?
It does. And even Denim and Diamonds.
Yeah.
I mean, I told him whenever I was listening to it, you know, people try to say that kind of sounds like a Pink Floyd type thing, and parts of it does, but to me, I hear I've Been Down in there. I mean, I hear all kinds of Hank all over that record, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I hear Outlaw Women a little bit in that song, too. I mean...
Yeah, I can see that.
You can pick it out.
The reason...
But, man, I think he's proud of that record.
Yeah. He fibbed to you a little bit.
Me and him's actually talked about him producing one on me.
Oh, wouldn't that be something? That'd be like winning the jackpot there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, he brought it up a few months ago when we did a show at the Nashville Palace in April.
Still pissed I missed that show.
Oh, it was a good one, man. Jenny White, I opened for both of them, you know, of course, but she played in the middle, and then he headlined, and got to meet Coulter Wall that night. Really, really nice guy, Coulter is.
He's a soft-spoken guy, isn't he? Well, he's got a big voice, but he's just a real soft-spoken guy otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We met him at a show last year. We had a Cody Jinks show. Lucas and I went to Knoxville, and Coulter opened for him that night.
Man, he's something else, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
He's something. And, you know, he did some videos up at for Chicago Music Exchange. It's this boutique vintage guitar shop up in Chicago. And they do a little video series. He did some of those. Well, I was up there in March. And I stopped by there and did 2 or 3 videos with him, too. And so we were talking about that. And I think he bought him a Mark up there. Next time he came through, he said he bought one. And I can't remember now. It's like a 34, 35 Martin, something like that.
That was cheap, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Is that the videos where you're just sitting there in front of all the in front of the wall of guitars? Yeah, I've seen some of those online. Yeah. That's a pretty good shop. Pretty good acoustics in that shop for where you were sitting at, too.
Yeah. Man, that place is something else. And, you know, the guy that runs it, he was telling me, you know, just the other day, I mean, before I was in there, Joe Walsh and Vince Gill come walking in.
Oh, God.
Some boys know some stuff about some guitars, ain't
it?
Yeah. DK lied to you a little bit while ago. He didn't get fired up over Shooter. He got fired up over the fact that Joe Rogan's not a country music fan and had Shooter Jennings on his podcast and didn't talk a damn thing about music.
It pissed me off.
You know, man, I listened to that, actually. I listened to it, and I thought, what's happened to him? He didn't even hardly let Shooter talk.
Yeah, when it gets high, man, he don't let the other person talk at all.
But even before they got so high, I mean, he was just, you know, they were on this thing about, I don't even remember what it was now.
About freaking aliens,
and, I mean,
man.
He wouldn't even let him talk, and I'm like, man, what happened to Joe?
Yeah.
He used to not really be like that. But,
And Lucas is right, because I was a little... Look, and like I said, I get it. We're kind of grassroots down here. We don't host UFC. We don't do stand up comedy. We're not in LA in a big ass booth. Like, we're grassroots. We're 2 nobodies basically that have a passion for music, and I do some sports stuff on here. Lucas does some stuff, but damn it, I know what I know, and I know Shooter Jennings' career just about as good as anybody. You know what I'm saying? And so when I've reached out, and this is where and like I said, I know it's going to help Shooter a lot more than it would us, but
other way.
Oh yeah, definitely the other way. Yeah, it's going to help us a lot more than it would Shooter. But my deal is I'm not even looking for that. I'd love to just get him on here and talk, and because we've had so many guys that indirectly have been influenced by Shooter, including yourself, Josh Morningstar, Justin Wells. We've had so many guys on that and they're willing to come back. And I've reached out to Adam at one point, and Adam doesn't know me that well, but I reached out and I said, "Hey, I'd love to have Shooter on." He said, "What's your reach?" And I thought, "Well, we're growing, man. We're trying." But my thing is, I know I could have a good interview with Shooter, and I know, like you were just saying a while ago, we're digging into the old Hank Jr. stuff, and I seen Shooter.
Yeah.
I seen Shooter the first time in like March or April 2005. Put the Old Back had just come out, and I've seen him shows ever since, and I know his career. So when I listen to Joe Rogan, he's like, "What do you mean you had Stephen King narrate your album?" I'm like, God damn, everybody knows that Stephen King narrated that album, and I'm thinking,
yeah, what, 5 or 6, 7 years ago, right?
Yeah,
when that came out.
And he keeps talking. He's like, "Oh, I love Put the O Back." I'm like, dude, 13 years ago. Let's talk about Shooter. You know, the album that's out now. He's probably on there to promote that shit a little bit. You know, so
yeah, I feel you. I mean, I was kind of feeling that too when I honestly, it was hard to get through the whole thing. Not because of Shooter at all.
No.
Because Joe just took it over, and you know, kind of to me, it speaks to his character a little bit. That, you know, he just wanted to.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know the guy. I've never met him. A lot of people say he's a real cool guy. I'm sure he is. You know. But it's what it is, I guess. But I'll tell you something. Adam is a good dude, man.
Yeah, I'd say so.
He's a good dude.
I just hoping one day that we'll get fortunate enough to have him on here so we can talk music, because even Shooter, if you probably noticed that, Shooter at the end of that interview was like, "Yeah, man, I've got a new album, you know, it's coming out, Shooter," you know, and he made mention the last time he was on there, John's like, "Dude, you were on there the whole time and you didn't even promote the album."
Yeah.
And even with the guy, the Mark Maron that interviewed him, there was even a point he's like, "Oh, Jesse Coulter's your mom?" I'm like, "You gotta be shitting me. You gotta be shitting me."
See, I missed that one. I didn't catch that one.
Overall, it was I did enjoy that one. I think you'll enjoy it a lot more if you go back and listen to it, because it was more music related and something you could get into more. But I'm just I'm just
glad he's getting the publicity and he's getting the push with this thing, and you know, he's under the kind of umbrella of a major label now, and I'm happy for him because he deserves every bit of it and much more. And I hope more is coming to him. But man, I'll tell you this: he's been so busy lately. The last couple of texts I've sent him, I mean, he hasn't even had time to respond to. Well, I haven't talked to him in a few weeks. Well, since the new song came out, he debuted it on Sirius XM Outlaw Country on his Electric Rodeo show. He debuted that song, and that's probably the last day I talked to him.
Well, I look forward to seeing you guys get in there, and if you are, you know, able to get in there, I can imagine with your voice and your sound, he bring out the best out of you, because I mean he's been kicking ass, you know, over the few years. Brandy Carlisle and Jason Boland and Fifth on the Floor and all the stuff that he's done.
Man, was that Brandy Carlisle record a genius thing or what?
Yeah, I was very impressed with it. Yeah, that's had a lot of good reviews.
Great, but yeah. She's great, but I mean, just the production and the overall album. I told Shooter the last time I seen him on the bus, I said, "Man," he was talking about producing this thing on me, and I said, "Well, honestly, I don't think I would trust any big shot producers with me, except for like you or Cobb or somebody like that." And I've never met Dave. He was at the show that night, but he left before I was back there selling my T-shirts after my set. And I saw him there, but he left before I got a chance to go meet him. But I already know just by listening to his work that we would work good together. So him or Shooter, I would really be up for doing something. You know, I think that they could get me and get in my head.
Well, you know, it's funny you mentioned that about Dave Cobb. Of course, he's on fire right now, as everybody knows. But you know, when I was thinking, when I was listening to all your music, and I've been listening to Stoned on the One for a long time now. I'm checking out the new single, and I've been going back, and I don't like to compare artists, because I sometimes you'll hear an artist in a certain song, but I hear the two names for me that you remind me of. I hear some Stapleton. When I hear, there's certain songs I hear Stapleton. And there's a couple songs I hear like some early Jamie Johnson going on. I know that's big shoes to fill, but I'm sincere as all get out when I'm saying that That's the two that run through my mind was Jamie Johnson and Chris Stapleton, both of them for you.
Well, that's quite a compliment, and I really appreciate you saying that. And I've actually had other people say that very same thing you just said. So
maybe it's the Alabama coming out with Jamie. I don't know, but a lot of Jamie Johnson similarities. I thought right off the bat, but then I heard a little more Stapleton when I was going back. So,
man, I tell you that Traveler record that him and Dave did in 2016, that thing is timeless. It still is to this day. I'm a huge fan of Chris. We were talking about getting together and trying to write a song. I mean, not me and Chris, but the person that's managing me, sort of, and then his manager.
Okay.
Right before he took off. But when I heard that Traveler record, I was like, man, I want to sit down with this guy and write some songs. And then we were talking about it, and then he just exploded after that thing with Justin Timberlake. And so
I tell you,
I'm happy for him, though, man. He's a hell of a talent, I tell you.
Speaking of sounding a little bit like Jamie Johnson, have you ever took your belt off on stage and whipped the piss out of somebody with it?
Do what?
I said, have you ever took your belt off on stage and whipped the piss out of somebody with it, like Jamie did?
No, I never have. I've never done that.
You never invited two fans on stage to whip them back off stage with your belt?
No, I read that, though, and I laughed my ass off.
Oh, yeah. That's good stuff right there.
That's great.
Yeah.
And that's probably the most excited Jamie got all night.
A few times.
Yeah, right.
What level of don't give a shit you got to be at to be Jamie Johnson just to beat the piss out of somebody like that? I mean, that's when you know you've made it, when you just financially know, like, you know you're going to pay for this, but you're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, this is going to be a lawsuit.
Well, man, he I met him a couple times. I don't really know Jamie that well. I met him a couple times. He may remember, he may not. But you'll know pretty quick if he likes you, if he don't like you. You know, and that's kind of how I am. Right. I mean, I try to love everybody and get along with everybody.
Well, some people just won't let you do that, though, will they?
They won't, especially music business idiots that booking agents and managers. I tell you, man, this is my 10th year of being in this so-called, music business. And, I've talked to so many booking agents and managers and publicists, and there's some good ones out there. I'm not saying this about everybody, but they're full of a whole bunch of shit. They try to act like they're all interested in signing you to their booking agency. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, they act like they don't even know who you are. So basically, they just tell you whatever. People are fake, and I'm not. So I need to have somebody real that I can be on their team, and they're really going to go to bat for me.
Well, that's why you had to move out of Nashville. I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there.
Man, like I was talking about earlier about the co-writing thing, that first co-write happened. So then I'm thinking, well, let me try to get a cut. Let me try that. So I started writing with all these big hit songwriters. And, I did pick up something from each one of them. I picked up some little nugget of something that I could carry with me the rest of my life. But the main thing that I learned is I don't enjoy sitting in a room with somebody I've never met, trying to come up with a 2.5-minute song that radio will play on Justin Moore or Dustin Lynch or whoever the hell. I mean, it's just not my thing.
Right.
A lot of people do it.
You don't look like the kind of guy that sits around with 6 other guys at Starbucks.
No.
Talking.
No.
Wearing Toms.
Three is the most we've ever done is 3.
Is that
me and 2 other ones in the room?
I could see that going on in Nashville right now. I could see guys sitting around at a Starbucks or something similar and saying, well, what we need in Nashville is another song about a pickup truck and maybe some girls.
And that's the funny thing. That's what they do. They talk about you know, when the eclipse happened, remember that last year, I think it was and I told somebody, I said, how much you want to bet? There's 55 Music Row songwriters going in today writing about some kind of eclipse of my heart, or love eclipse, or some kind of bullshit. But that's how they think, because they're reaching so hard.
Hey,
you know, they're trying, and they're just following the leader, man. And it's, you know, you see where it's happening. I mean, it's happening with guys like Cody Jinks, Shooter, because they're out there busting their ass and they're working for it. And they're real artists that don't have to be auto-tuned. They can sing, and they can write music, and they can draw a crowd. That lasts with people.
Is anybody hotter than Cody Jinks right now?
Well, if they are, I sure haven't found them.
He's on a tear.
I'm proud. You know, I did Bucks up in Venice, Nebraska earlier this year, and Buck Bennett owns that place. And first time I met him, he was a real nice guy. And you know, Cody played there for years and years, and he said, you know, Buck said nobody hardly would even come out. Nobody knew who he was. So he said to see the success that he's having right now is especially exciting to him. And I can imagine how it would be, you know, because now see Bucks up there is kind of like a legendary place because of Cody now. So now all these guys like me want to go play it because they're, you know, the crowds that are coming in is the kind of crowds that we're looking for.
Where'd you say that was at?
It's in Venice, Nebraska.
Oh, okay. Damn.
I think it's called Buck's Bar and Grill is the name of it.
You don't hear a lot of people running to Nebraska.
It's just a little honky tonk, you know. A lot of fun. I did a show there with the Midnight River Choir back in March.
Yeah, that's for sure. I've never heard anybody say let's go to Nebraska to listen to some music. So that's kind of cool to always to hear something new like that, you know.
Yeah, Whitey and you know, some different ones all have been up there and played, you know. And yeah, it's a cool place, man, and they're there to listen.
They've also got all you can eat tacos Tuesdays. You can't beat that. $6.95 only.
You can get that in Nashville every day, pretty much. Don't worry, they're gonna have pizza day on Wednesday and Taco Tuesdays.
And don't forget about the hot chicken, by God.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, gotta have that Nashville hot chicken.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
gotta have that.
Them boys are on the rise, though. They're on a tear. You know, Whitey just had his first rhyming appearance over the weekend, and I'll be at the Ascend. Yeah. I'm going to Ascend here in a couple of weeks and checking out Cody. It's a big deal. I mean, you know, to be pretty much on his own. You know, like I said, he didn't have a major label either all these years until he signed with Rounders. And it's always nice to see the good guys that are actually worth a damn make it, you know, to that level.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I don't get into the competition part of it. I'm just proud of my friends and who I'm a fan of. And I'm proud to see them succeed. I don't get into the competing on the charts and the competing. I don't give a shit about the charts, first of all, because as long as people are buying the music and it means something to them like it does to me when I'm writing it or singing it or recording it, that's the chart to me. That's like winning the Grammy.
Yeah, it's a real good point.
But at the same time, I mean, to make a living, you gotta sell enough of them. So it's a double.
It's a double-edged sword,
you know. Yeah. But I mean, it ain't about that. It's just about for me, I just got to get it out. Like I was saying earlier, I mean, if I'm being in bed asleep at night or on the road driving, and something just hits me, the music hits me, the words hit me, and it's just there. That's what happened with this new one, Gonna Be Gone, actually. I was driving from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Flagstaff, Arizona. And out there, I mean, it looks like a Quentin Tarantino movie because you got, I mean, it's just desert. And you can see so far in front of you. You can see miles in front of you. And that melody came in my head, and then the words came. And so I'm pretty proud of that one there. That's a real simple thing, but it's something a lot of people can relate to. And
Well, and that was kind of my next question. You know, a hell of a quote right here on your website, and it says, you know, that Bobby Bare has called you the future of country music. First, I know that's got to be a hell of a compliment. You've been described as real and genuine, and your music honky tonk heartbreak. I mean, going back to that quote with Bobby Bare, I mean it's Bobby Bare, you know, first and foremost saying that. And is it important? Yeah. Is it important to you, kind of in a day where today is all the same BS circulating through Nashville, to write and record songs from the heart like that? I mean, I know the answer before I ask it, but I mean, just kind of go through that process.
Yeah.
Hear something like that.
Yeah, it's the only way I really can do it and make it mean something, and make the other people that are listening feel it. I can't fake it, really. But, you know, Bobby's one of my best friends in this business that I've made, and he's been a mentor to me. When I got finished with my record, Stole on the One, last year, he was the first guy to say, I had the masters on a burnt CD straight from the studio in Franklin where I recorded it. Mm. When we finished that up, I drove straight to Bobby's house, and we sat there in his office and listened. He listened to every word of that album, everything on it, and he's that guy. I mean, he's a song man. Mm-hmm. He knows a good song. We wrote songs together, and he said he's going to record one of them on his next album. And I wish he'd hurry up and start it. See, now he's doing this podcast, and he's taking his time up now. But man, he is. I feel like a lot of people don't really appreciate Bobby Bare like they should. But if there was no Bobby Bare, there may not have been a Waylon Jennings. Mm-hmm. There wouldn't have been a Billy Joe Shaver, Don Williams. A lot of guys were hanging around his old publishing office on Music Road back in the day. You know, he told me he hired Don Williams to sing on demos.
Damn.
And ended up getting a record deal on a demo song that he was hired to sing. And he got publishing on the Honky Tonk Heroes record.
Yeah.
Because Billy Joe Shaver, he signed Billy Joe Shavers as a songwriter on his publishing company. And, you know, Billy Joe, that whole record is Billy Joe's songs.
And is that the one where the story went, where he went up to Waylon's porch and said, "When are you going to record my damn album?"
That was it. That was some of those songs that are on that record. Yeah,
that's unbelievable, isn't it?
It is, man. I mean, there's a rich history with him, and he's such a loyal guy too. You know, I mean, and then on the other hand of it, that quote. We're sitting in his living room one day, and he said, he just so nonchalantly said, guys like you and Sturgill and Chris and Jamie, you know, y'all are the future of country music. And I just kind of was like, you know, you put me in there. You realize what you just said. You wasn't drinking. Yeah. So, I mean, that's something.
Yeah, it's a
little weird for him to be a fan of mine and tell me, you know, I wrote a good song. That's a huge high for me. But it's weird too. It's like, mm-hmm. You know, it's kind of like, well, why are you a fan of mine? I grew up on you. Right. He's just that kind of guy.
That's kind of something that when we had Jason Eady on a couple weeks ago, we kind of touched on that a little bit. We talked about how everything goes in cycles, and you know, like when Shooter came out, it was kind of the Gretchen Wilson. They had the Outlaws concert that Shooter was on like 6 months before the first mm-hmm. record even come out. So that Outlaw thing was being touched on then, and then it kind of went the more pop direction, and it lasted a lot longer than anybody probably had anticipated. Then, but here lately, like you know, Jason was saying, and I was saying that people are saying country music's dead, or you know, a lot of people still want to listen to the legends, and I'm thinking it's not dead. Right. And me and him, Lucas, we all agreed it's in a hell of a lot better place right now with guys like you, Stapleton, Sturgill, Tyler Childers, Jamie Shooter. I mean, it's out there. You know, Edie Wells. It's out there. You just gotta find it. You know, and with the internet, thank God, with YouTube and kind of, you know, most of these independent artists are getting found, and I think country music right now is better than it's been in many, many years.
I agree completely 100%. And, that's just the thing. What y'all are doing here, y'all are helping with with this movement. And I really appreciate what y'all are doing for people like me. Some of these blogs out here that'll review my little album that I've got out there for people to just to find, because there's not no big promotion money, no big push. People are not blowing my phone up trying to book me.
Right. I hear you.
And so I really appreciate the people that take the time to try to showcase or just introduce somebody to a new, their audience or a new audience. And you just never know what could. I've been so lucky in this business in the short amount of time I've been in it to get to know some incredible people. And some of them are, it's kind of like, well, it's kind of wild that, this person, you can just call them on the phone. Yeah. Not just singers, but, people in the wrestling world or.
We'll get there.
Hey, you mess around, he'll throw some Sweet Chin music on you up here. He's a wrestler guy too.
I'm telling you, we're gonna get there.
Hey,
it's just I really do appreciate what y'all do, and everybody out there that's doing something similar, because it's introducing me to a lot of people.
Well, and we appreciate you in the same token. You've got a big set of listeners, and that ain't what it's about really for us. Of course, if you share, if you share this to your pages, and we gain some more listeners, hell, we'll take it. But the thing is, I get so sick and tired of people saying there's no alternatives. There's no, I can't turn on country radio. But I am proud to say that since we've been doing this for 2 years, we took a break in between, but overall a little over 2 years, and I do know we've helped Jason Eady and Justin Wells and some of those guys. I don't care if it's 15, 20 records they've sold because of this show. People are hearing it, and I'll look on Instagram when Jason Eady and Wells and Morning Star, some of these guys post stuff. Friends of mine that I know didn't know these guys 2 years ago are liking their photos. I'm thinking, well, even if it's a little bit, damn it, we're doing something we're trying to do. When we're trying to put out and introduce you guys to many people that don't know you. Just, because damn it, it's good shit, needs to be heard.
Yeah, and you're right about it. It is out there. You just got to look a little harder to find it. It ain't going to be put in front of your face or your ears.
Yeah,
you got to go find it.
Yeah,
and we're help, like I said.
But it is better than ever, I think.
Let me ask you a quick question here. Prior to music, what was you doing? What was you out in the real life? What was you before you was a country music singer?
Everything.
A little bit of everything?
I've worked everywhere from McDonald's to security guard to postal carrier to in plenty of factories and things like that, to a maintenance guy at a chicken processing plant.
Was that when you was in Franklin by chance?
No.
Okay.
No, I was still in Geraldine at that time.
Right. So you've been a little bit of everything. I kind of had the sense that you'd been around a little bit. I didn't think you'd been in that one, just the way you talk, and you don't have that I've been doing one thing my whole life type of, speech pattern.
No, I feel like that now, really. I've been doing this so long, and I feel like it's who I am. So I kind of feel like this is all I've ever done, but it really ain't.
Right.
I've only done it for 10 years, and as far as a business,
Right.
So, but yeah, I did a little of everything.
We had a question here from one of our listeners, and we have a set of brothers here, not a set of brothers, it's a whole family of brothers that listen to us religiously, and they help us out. It's Blake, Caleb, Jordan, and Slim, and Steve, Slim, but they put us over every week and they share our stuff. So when they seen that you were coming on, it was cool to see. Caleb was already saying, "Oh man, I love his music. Can't wait to hear this." And Blake actually.
Oh, I saw that on Instagram. I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're already fans, so that's good. So they were looking forward to the interviewed, and Blake asked,
awesome.
He said, who's your favorite artist or person in general to write with or to jam with? He sees you writing and recording with a lot of different people. As far as, who you played with?
Well, my favorite to write with, me and Bobby Bear we have fun, and I enjoy sitting in the room with him. I've wrote songs with Larry Gatlin. Now that's another one on up there.
Yeah.
And James Otto is another one.
Okay.
David Bellamy. I got to go to the Bellamy Brothers Ranch a few years ago for a whole week, and me and David Bellamy sat and wrote about 5 or 6 songs in that week, and went out there and recorded them in their barn. So that was fun too. They're all good in their own ways, but I've got a songwriter friend that's not afraid of shit. He's not one of these typical hit songwriters. I mean, me and him can sit in the room and write anything we want to. He ain't afraid to go country with it. Mark Narmore, he's from Muscle Shoals, and he wrote "Moon Over Georgia," big Shenandoah hit in the '90s. And he wrote "That's What I Love About Sundays" for Craig Morgan, and a lot more. But me and Mark have wrote a lot of good songs. I enjoyed that. As far as jamming with, me and Shooter usually end up jamming to some Hank Jr. on his bus. And I enjoy that because I'm a Hank guy, He knows it like I do, so that's always fun.
I like to be part of that one right there. I could drink. I believe I could.
He don't want to pick or sing. He just wants to be there and watch it and drink some beers.
No, I want to
be there and have a drink in your hand.
Yeah.
And I won't say a damn word. Believe it or not, from this interview, I won't say a word. I'll sit there with my Jim Beam and enjoy the shit out of it.
Hey, you give him about 6 or 8 in, he's going to be requesting songs. I guarantee you that.
Hey, bring them on. I ain't sing Hank all night.
Yeah, I didn't say I wouldn't request them, but...
shout them out or something anyway.
Yeah.
Try to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome, man. Where you're at a level now where your heroes are your peers, kind of. So that's it's got to be a neat feeling.
Man, a lot of them are. It's weird, strange. But it's good. It's all good.
I tell you what's strange is when I was looking through your Instagram pictures and I'm seeing the pictures of the shout outs to Waylon and Hank Jr. and you got pictures with Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard. Then I see one where your naked ass is laying in a bathtub, soaped up.
That was my Willie Nelson. That picture of the wet Willie going around the internet? That was my rendition.
That's funny.
Well, that ain't what I thought.
I had a few drinks, I think, that night.
Hey, that reminds me.
And what else you do? You put it on Instagram. I mean,
why not?
That's a good idea,
why not?
Yeah. That reminds me of a buddy of ours here in Clay County. He said, I don't know. First thing when I see one grown ass naked man, it reminds me of another grown naked man. But it was a hell of a spot to be in. But he said he got drunk last year and he was following this big fantasy football podcast, and they said you have to send in a picture to the most outlandish story or picture or whatever would win a spot in their big high dollar league for free.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a Packers fan, and he got butt ass naked, and his wife come home and said, honey, you're gonna take some pictures of me. She said, we've never done this before. And he said, no, not like that. He's like, but I'm gonna hold this Packers ball and you're gonna take a picture of me. And so
that's great.
He didn't get in the league, so he has nothing but a shame.
Posted on the internet.
Oh man,
I'd hate to be the son of a bitch that had to sort through those photos.
Said this one ain't even making it.
What's been better is if it had one of them big cheese heads on, that's all too.
I'm really disappointed he didn't go there. That's
that's been great, man. I want to see that now. I want to see that.
I would say not only do I need to see that now, they should. If he would have done that, there's no way he couldn't have gotten into the league.
You can't unsee it.
You can't unsee it.
We know if we ever see Andrew Pope at a show in Wisconsin, we know what's coming on Instagram night.
That's right. I don't forget.
And I got to talk about your. Now we can get into it for a few minutes. Your WWE influences. Just some.
Oh man.
So how? Okay, so grew up a fan, just like anybody in the South, but now you're
Yeah.
On your Instagram, you're hanging out with Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. You're doing DDP yoga with Diamond Dallas, and Luke Gallows, the Good Brothers, wearing your T-shirt. Man, give me the rundown. How'd you get into these cats?
Oh God, I'm a huge WCW fan.
Wrestling
from the late '90s, and I grew up watching WWF as a kid. With the Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior, the Macho Man, and the Undertaker. But I really kind of didn't. I mean, that was just kind of fun to watch on Saturday mornings. But in the late '90s, I really, really dug into WCW. When the NWO came along, I was hooked. And but man, it's funny how all that started. I follow The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, on Twitter.
Yeah.
He tweeted out one day a couple of years ago some Merle Haggard lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
And I tweeted him back like some more Merle Haggard lyrics, and he tweeted me back some more. But when he tweeted me back, just that simple reply, he's got so many dadgum followers on his Twitter, just that simple reply garnered attention from Sean Waltman.
Yeah.
Huh. Which he was X-Pac.
Oh, I got an X-Pac story in a minute.
He's got a good X-Pac story.
Okay. We followed each other and we started DMing.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, Eric Bischoff is another one. Of course, Eric Bischoff was, the whole NWO thing was his idea. He was the president of WCW at the time, working for Ted Turner.
Hey, but when you're prefacing all this, you're prefacing to our listeners, because I know what you're talking about.
Right, and I know they probably don't have a freaking clue.
Not a clue, brother.
I'm spelling it out.
Hey, I've tried to have some wrestling guests on this show, and Lucas is like, I don't know, nobody's gonna care about wrestling. But when we have a country music singer that can talk wrestling, hey, that's a win-win for me. Hey, and you're gonna get a kick out of this. Actually, being from Huntsville, our guest the last 2 weeks, he double booked himself 2 weeks ago. Then last week I didn't hear from him. Conrad Thompson was supposed to be our guest the last 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah?
And then...
did you ever get him on?
We didn't, because when our first time around, we were talking about it before he blew up to have everything that he's doing now with 3 podcasts and, StarCast and everything coming up. He didn't have all that. He just had the show with Bruce. And he said, yeah, and we never got around to it. We took a big break. And then he said he double booked himself 2 weeks ago. And then I don't know what happened last week, so I just kind of give up on it. But I thought it'd kind of be neat. We're just a normal guy from Huntsville. Hell, he's blew up now. He's one of the biggest names in pro wrestling right now.
He's really done something, hasn't he? With these podcasts.
Damn. You're seeing big ass fatheads at pay-per-views of Conrad Thompson, a mortgage broker from Huntsville. That's pretty cool,
I used to... when he did the Ric Flair show, he was on there, and that's where I first heard him at.
Yeah.
And then I heard Rick say he was from Huntsville. So I thought, well, this guy, they also talk on there about his collection and things like that. Well, at the time, I had the complete Turner Home Entertainment. I'm getting really geeky now for y'all. Just yawn for a minute and then, come back or whatever. But I had the complete Turner Home Entertainment, Jim Crockett Promotions, WCW collection on VHS.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Except for like 3 that I was looking for. And every time they're on eBay, they're so high.
Yeah, I bet.
That you can't get them. So I thought, well, I bet this guy's got some stuff, or, we've talked some wrestling. Nobody really got it like we do.
Mm-hmm.
And so we ended up having lunch. He paid for the lunch and everything. And was a real nice guy, but I just kind of got the idea that he was, he had more important things to worry about. So I hadn't talked to him or seen him since, but I'm glad of what he's doing for people like us that grew up during that time.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these stories on these podcasts are gold. I don't get to catch all of them. I listen when I can.
Right.
But, Jerry Lawler's got a great podcast. J.J. Dillon has a great podcast. Everybody's got one now.
I listen to Jerry's. I listen to Jim Ross's, and I listen to Steve Austin's.
Jim Ross, yeah. Exactly. And David Panzer's even got a podcast. I mean, for crying out loud, the ring announcer.
Who's next, Slick? Who's next, Slick?
He's got guests on there.
I said, who's next, Slick? Doctor.
I mean, I think Dorothy the Clown's going to have one coming out.
Hey, I tell you, Sean Mooney does that. Sean Mooney actually has a pretty good one.
Yeah, I've checked his out.
Now, that's a hardcore fan right there. You started talking about Sean Mooney, and he was the precursor to Todd Pettengill. So who are you talking about now? You know how nerdy we're getting when to bring up Todd Pettengill.
Man, you can just go for so long on all this. So like I could go and people ain't even gonna have a fucking clue what we're saying.
No. And that was my fault. I brought you into Conrad, but I'm sorry I cut you off. I didn't mean to Joe Rogan you there. You met X-Pac, and I'm sorry. Then you go from there.
We started into Joe Rogan. I like that. Might have to use that. We started DMing because he saw that interaction with me and The Rock. Well, that led to Scott Hall, led to Eric Bischoff.
Man,
I had when me and Shooter and Jamie did that. Wyatt did that show in Nashville in April. Mick Foley was doing his 20 Years of Hell comedy tour.
Zanies.
At Zanies. So me and Mick Foley had lunch before our show that day, and he was going to come over. He was going to come over to our show at the Palace, but he had people in his green room that he had to kind of entertain, so he couldn't get away. But we've become friends. I mean, Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah.
He's a big country music guy, and he's awesome, man. I mean, I've just met so many at this point. And Dallas, man, I did that DDP. I went there. Me and Dallas in the room.
Yes.
For 20-something minutes. He was kicking my ass. That workout.
It ain't your mama's yoga, they say.
It's nothing like yoga. Yeah, it ain't. I mean, it's nothing like yoga. It is hard. It's the hardest thing in the freaking world that you'll ever do.
Yeah.
And then he's like a drill sergeant at the same time. And I told him for it when I was like, man, kick my ass because, I want to see what this is about. So he hooked me up. I mean, he hooked me up with that whole thing, and I'm doing it, and I'm down a few pounds already.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, man, my knees have always been bad because I don't know what's wrong. Something's wrong with my knees. I can't straighten them all the way. And we were talking about that, and he telling me some things to do. And yeah, he completely hooked me up with that. So I've been doing the DDP. He's calling it DDPY now.
Okay.
Because he said too many people are calling it yoga, so they're rebranding to DDPY.
Hey, it brought that cat back to life too. I mean, he was in some shit shape.
Well, yeah. I mean, if
and Jake Roberts and Scott too. Scott Hall. I mean, man, I'm telling you, but it's amazing what it does. It's just basically you're standing in one spot. And you're flipping back and forth, maybe like from the left to the right, but you're burning calories just by getting your heart rate going and stretching and like just trying to be flexible, He's got Darius Rucker doing it too. Darius is a good friend of his. He was telling me about that.
A lot of those guys that go back to WWE.
Justin Moore's a friend of his.
Did you say Justin Moore?
Yeah. Dallas was telling me that he's buddies with him, but he's got all of them. Well, I don't know if Justin's doing it, but he said Darius is doing it. Darius is an old school wrestling fan too, man. He's got one of Ric Flair's Starcade robes, I think.
Oh man,
crazy.
If he can fix when Scott Hall was, the ladies' man. Like a big badass, but was a good looking guy. And then when he showed up to Pages when he was in the wheelchair, he looked bad.
Yeah, in that movie. Mm-hmm. He's always been one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, I'm a Click guy. I'm a Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and I've met all of them now except for Hunter. I've met all the Click, and they've all.
Well, Jimmy Hart was telling me that I think it's October 27th. They're having the original 3 members of the NWO. They're having a reunion of signing in Orlando
at a Hogan shop.
No, it's at a bigger place.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember the name of it. It's at some nightclub, I think.
I seen where they were advertising it, and I tell you what, those guys, I've met all 3 of them, individually and together. I met, and they couldn't be any nicer. It was just unbelievable. Like, Nash is the moodiest one of the 3. Kevin Nash is actually, he's hit or miss. Like, he's been friendly, but he still plays that Mr. Cool kind of deal, where he's not just overly. Like, he was nice, but Scott was the nicest. I actually helped a buddy of mine booked a show outside of Cookeville, Tennessee here, and I helped him get Scott Hall because he had Kevin coming on, and I said, Scott Hall's taking bookings. This was 2013. That's when he just started feeling good again and was looking better. And we were asking him, he's like, I said, how much you charge for autograph tonight, Scott? And I introduced myself, told him I'd helped, make it happen. I was like, he said, I said, all I did was really give your number that you give me to the promoter. I said, I really didn't do anything but hope it would happen. And I said, what do you charge for an autograph? He goes, I used to sell at Madison Square Garden. I'm at an Ag Expo in Sparta, Tennessee. You tell me what I'm charging, bro.
Typical Scott Hall, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just exactly what you would expect.
Yeah.
And then
that's great.
I was at a toy convention with a friend of mine in Atlanta. He does Chad Flatt. He has Heroes and Legends collectibles. He's always set up at all these shows. And we were talking to Scott, and somebody showed him an old WCW action figure. It was the figure had a table and a Sting mask. He goes, "Cause I'm so fucking hardcore, huh? They got a broken table." so that was
man.
So that was great. And I met Hogan when I was on vacation this year. I went to his beach shop in Clearwater too early, and I had to wait and kill time. So I went up to Bushwhacker Luke's gym, and we I guess we looked like tourists. We had our Tennessee Titans gear on. They're like, "What are you trying to do?" And I was like, "Well, I'd love to meet Hulk." And they're like, "Hang out." Basically, long story short, hang out, man. He pounds beers all weekend. He comes in here and works out on Mondays, hardcore. So his training partner brought us over, and about a 5-minute conversation, just because I didn't want to keep him,
Yeah.
But man, he couldn't have been any nicer. He talked about. He like, where are you from? And I said, you probably never heard of it. It's a little small town between Nashville and Knoxville called Cookeville. He goes, oh, brother, we used to tear up Cookeville in the late 70s. And when I first started, he said, I was with the Goulises and the Jarretts, brother. And we'd work Cookeville, Memphis, Nashville. I'm like, and I talked to one of my buddies, and he said, you met the biggest name in the history of professional wrestling. You talked about Cookeville, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. But you think about, those days, those territory days, man. I mean, they went everywhere. Even little towns, I mean, they went everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And so these guys, a lot of it's their lives. It's like, me with music, this is their lives, and they can remember so much of it. When I was out in March, I was on a big acoustic tour. It was just me, by myself. I drove 7,500 miles, I guess, in the month of March. And I was in Wyoming, and I stopped by Cody, Wyoming, up there, and Eric Bischoff and his beautiful wife invited me to spend the night with them.
Playboy model, Eric Bischoff's wife, right?
Oh, I don't think she's.
I think she was in Playboy.
She is. I didn't know.
Yeah, it was some sort of like special edition Playboy. I can't remember.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
At all. But anyway, I mean, what a nice guy he is, and I mean, we didn't even talk wrestling. We talked music a little bit.
That's cool.
But man, what a nice guy. He's become a good friend too. And these guys, Sean Waltman told me that he was in a car in the late '80s, I think, with Shawn Michaels, Scott Hall, Kurt Hennig, and maybe Triple H or maybe Kevin Nash.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who all was in there, but he said Kurt Hennig was a huge, huge country music fan.
I've always heard that.
and he said they were listening to a Chris Ledoux tape.
Wow.
And I can't remember the name of the song, but the lyrics, something about a heartbreak kid in the lyrics. And he said when he sang that, Kurt turned around to Shawn Michaels and said, "That's it. You're the heartbreak kid."
Wow.
And I'm like, man, that's awesome. You know, who would have ever thought that?
That is crazy. I have heard that Kurt Hennig would share, you know, I remember Shawn said stuff like that he was from Texas and he always liked, you know, country music, but Kurt Hennig was really the one that put it down their throats with Merle Haggard and George Jones. And I've heard Nash and all those guys talk about that. So that's really cool.
Yeah, he was from Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And, of course, his son now is big buddies. You know, I mean, Shooter and Colonel Hensley were big buddies with Joe Hennig. And, well, you know, Shooter still is. But
oh, really?
Yeah, that's one thing. That's how I connected with John Hensley the first time, because I'd seen him at Mick Foley's very first stand-up comedy at Zany's, like in 2013.
Okay.
And, you know, Colonel stands out, you know, the big afro and everything that he had. And so I was at Shooter's CMA Fest performance in 2014 at Riverfront Park, and I run into Justin Wells, and Justin said, "Hey, we're about to go over to Riverfront Tavern. Do you want to come hang with us?" And I said, "Sure." So, which was really cool of Justin. He's awesome guy. And so, little nobody me here sitting at a table with Jesse Coulter and Billy Don Burns and, you know,
wow.
and Shooter and, you know, everybody. And I talked to Colonel, and it's the first time I really spoke to him. And I said, "Hey, man," I said, "You a wrestling fan?" He goes, "How do you know that?" And I said, I think I saw you at Mick Foley's stand-up." He goes, "Yeah, it was me, you know, blah, blah, blah." And he said, "Come on, man, let's go have a drink." So we go sidebar, and we're taking Jaeger bombs. And he's like, "Have you ever met Ric Flair?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "He was great." He said, "He was such a dick to me." He said, "It made me cry." It was to the point where he made me cry. He was so mean to me after WrestleMania. And so somehow John had got in with Joe Hennig, and they invited him. And I guess they weren't supposed to. I forget the story, and I'm sorry. I'm going to take, if any of their crew hears this, I'm going to take a bashing because I can't remember the details. But basically, someone asked to take a picture. I don't know if it was Josh. I forget who it was. Somebody asked to take a picture. And it was like a no-no, I guess, behind the scenes. Like a fan's not supposed to ask for a picture at the WrestleMania after party.
Yeah.
So Ric Flair just goes on this big 1985 promo on him, and John said it just killed him. He's like, "I've met one of my favorite wrestlers, and he's cussed me out here, and I didn't even do anything." And I said, "That's the difference." I said, "I met Ric Flair at 10 a.m. You met the Nature Boy at 10 p.m." So,
but still, he cut a promo on him. So how can you not like that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what more can you ask for?
I would love that.
When I met him, I said, "Rick," I said, "Where's the after party of the after party?" He said, "Damn." He said, "Where's the after party?" I said, "They got you at a 50-person Max cigar bar." He said, "Brother, I don't know. They just point me and pay me." And I said, "Well, I'd love to have a beer with the Nates." He said, "Brother, you find me tonight. We'll drink red wine and Miller Lite all night long." And I believe that too.
That's great.
I never got to, but yeah, that was the connection. And after you know, John got in with Joe Hennig and whatnot, and you start seeing Gold Dust tweet Shooter and thank him for the merch. And I know a lot of those guys, Fandango and several of those guys are big into Shooter, thanks to, you know, John Hensley's connection there.
Well, I sent Dustin Rhodes and I sent Luke Gallows a CD and a shirt. And I gave Mick Foley one that day. In person, I gave him one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I've got my name kind of spread on a lot of wrestlers.
Well, I thought it was cool when I saw it
in their closet or something.
No, Gallows was wearing it on the boat, man.
That wasn't the intention. Yeah, I mean, that wasn't the intention.
Do you know him well?
I'm not one to... Who?
Do you know Luke Gallows pretty well?
No, I don't. I've never met him.
Oh, okay.
But I know he's a big fan of good music. And we talked about getting together, but he's so busy.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
We talked about getting together. He's got some kind of training dojo there in somewhere in Georgia, don't he?
I think so. At one time, he was actually at that same convention that Flair was at in Rome, Georgia, is where we were at with Rome, Georgia, and he was off that time. He had just quit Aces and Eights, in TNA and was doing a Japan thing, and he come over and bought some action figures off my buddy that had the merchandise booth. He's like, I don't guess you got any Luke Gallows over here, but I guess my son will take a damn John Cena doll, And later on that night, we went back to the hotel, and I went back to the hotel bar and went up to my room, and Gallows was walking through the second floor hallway, underwear and holding a tequila bottle. So
there you go.
So that's my memory of Luke Gallows. There late night, I was coming back from the bar, and he was carousing the halls, fixing to go and turn in. But so that's awesome. Man.
Tony Schiavone is a friend too. He loves country music, and he's with the Gwinnett Braves.
Uh-huh.
And they did a bobblehead thing, and they made these little bobbleheads of him and his little dog. And they only made so many of them, and they were for the first, 400 or 500 people that came in that night for that certain game. And he sent me one.
That's awesome.
That was really cool of him.
Who knew he was such a dirty little pervert like he is on that podcast with Conrad?
Yeah, that's something, isn't it?
The funniest story that I remember, I don't listen to that as much as I do the Bruce one, but when he's talking about
I don't know.
When he's talking about Flair being drunk and calling him to the to his room, and he said all he can see is Flair's big nose over the top of this girl, and he said he's giving her what can we say, a cat bath, and he said get over here, Schiavone, and he said, well, I know Flair's down there. She's already had the baby's arm. She don't need the Viennese sausage.
The baby's arm, I know. First time I heard that, I died. He's something, man, and he's been there for a lot of it. He was at the first Starrcade. The very first pay-per-view ever of anything was at Starrcade in '83. And it was Flair and Harley Race, and then that was where Roddy Piper and Greg Valentine had the bloody match.
The
dog collar match.
Dog collar match, yeah, man.
Man, I loved it.
Now we're geeking out hardcore. We're talking about the year we were born.
Well, I told you, and I wasn't even born yet.
Yeah, I think
in '83.
Yeah, I was born December '83, so I barely, so that was. That's.
I mean, I can do it. It's just in me because you have a love for it as a kid, a teenager, you growing up, and then you start having an interest in it.
Well,
and then you go back and you watch the other stuff, and that's exactly what I did.
What's really
now I've got to know so many of the guys, and so.
And that's what I was about to say. It's cooler, like you get it from a kid's perspective. Then you grow up, and now these Comic Cons, these conventions have taken hold so hard that you're getting to meet all these guys. Like I said, I never thought. I mean, I've met Shawn Michaels, who's my favorite of all time. I've met him 2 or 3 times, and we're sitting talking about how bad the Tennessee Titans offensive line is, and back before it was good, like it is now. But I've met Michaels, I've met Foley, I've met Undertaker, Hall, Nash. It's like, is this real life? Like I'm meeting these guys, and Flair. Oh man, it's just so you get to put a bit different perspective, and I don't get to know the guys, so it's even cooler that you're getting to know them, just a little bit. So it's got to be. That's a cool thing.
It is, man, and it just just if it's just a few text messages or a phone call or something, even that to me, it's weird.
Yeah.
To know, Mick Foley texted me the other day, and he said, "Whiskey Gets Me There is one of the best and saddest songs I have ever heard."
And he's right.
And I was like, what? I mean, did he just really say that,
Yeah, that's awesome.
But that just came out of nowhere, and I was like, man, yeah, it's great. And we don't talk, I don't ask questions. I did ask Dustin Rhodes, who did the Natural theme song for him, and he said Michael Hayes, because I figured it was a Jimmy Hart thing, but that was before Jimmy Hart came over to WCW. But when he was the Natural, it was Michael Hayes.
Okay, so Michael Hayes did a lot of the music there, and Jim Johnson and Jimmy Hart done the ones for New York.
Yeah, up in New York, yeah.
Well, before we put everybody to sleep,
go all night on it,
we're going to catch up. We'll have to get back together, and next time you're playing Nashville, we'll have to do this right here. And
yeah, man, be glad to.
Well, give me your Mount Rushmore country music singers, and hell, while we're at it, if we can get shorter answer on the wrestling. Give me your Mount Rushmore on the wrestling too while we're at it.
Well, country music would have to be Hank Jr., Waylon, Merle Haggard, and Willie Nelson. Wrestling would be Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Scott Hall, Randy Savage for me.
I like it. You can't argue with any of those.
I can't argue with
that. Lucas said I could. I mean, I can if I wanted to.
Yeah, I can't argue any of the rest.
Well, we can go back and talk Harley Race and all that stuff if we want to.
Hey, Lucas can pretend like he doesn't remember those guys, but he was in on the guys. I had a pretty solid group of 4 or 5 guys. Used to go in and order the pay-per-views in junior high and high school together, $10 a piece.
It's been a minute. I bet.
Shit, we did too. Every month, we'd save our allowance money of whatever money we saved, our lunch money, and $29.95 a month.
Awesome.
We put it together. About 2 or 3 of my friends put it together, and I was at one of the last Monday Nitros. It was here in Huntsville in either February or March of 2001. I mean, it was like a month before they sold. And Dallas came through the crowd right beside where we were sitting. And when I was up there with him, we went and ate lunch after the workout deal, and I was telling him about that. And I was like, man, you came down the crowd there, and my buddy, he had a yellow shirt on, and he ran over to, like, touch you. And he got smudged in between these 2 guys and knocked him down. And I said, it's always been a kind of a funny thing we've talked about, and now I'm getting to tell you. So I kind of had a little moment there with him. But another thing is, it's like, I just feel very fortunate to know who I know. But at the same time, I don't really care about who anybody is to the world. I just care about if I connect with them or if they're a real person or not. Not what can they do for me or what, it's not like that. I'm never anybody else. I'm always me around anybody. Larry the Cable Guy is a good friend too. And he is the most down-to-earth guy that you could ever meet. He introduced me to Jeff Foxworthy in Kentucky one night. I mean, he's but he came from, those comedians, man, that's a whole nother subject. Those guys, you talk about work ethic, you got to have one to do that. That's brutal.
Oh, shit, yeah. Being on the road 300, 50 weeks a year, some number of days, riding every single day, every night, just sitting down riding.
Maybe 20 people in the crowd and you don't even laugh at you.
Oh, shit, yeah. And they're not, a lot of times they're not there to see them. They're just there. They're not there for a long time. They're just there
to have some drinks. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Getting up, walking around and shit.
Well, I tell you tonight, being a fan of your music, I tell you what's impressed me the most of talking to you for the last almost hour and a half is the humility and the humbleness here. Because one thing I've noticed about you that's pretty awesome is that even though knowing these guys and knowing your stories and stuff, how much you put over Hank Jr. Of course, you're going to put over Hank Jr. Wayne because they're legends. But I mean, the nice things you had to say. But everybody that we mentioned says a lot about your character. You're talking about Joe Rogan's character, and like I said, I know you said you don't know Joe Rogan. We don't know Joe Rogan, but I'm just saying what you said. But that shows a hell of a lot about your character that you've put over everybody that so nicely. That's one thing that's going to stick out in my mind for this interview.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and I just feel very blessed. And I'm not right now where I want to be as far as work, shows. Like I said earlier, because nobody's blowing my phone up. I may get a few. I mean, I've got a show with Ward Davis and Sonny Sweeney in Tifton, Georgia on September the 13th.
That's a good show.
And I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But, we don't have a lot going on because nobody's calling. And so that's just the truth.
Well, that needs to change like yesterday.
Well, I'm always, I always want to work more.
Oh, yeah.
And as long as I can do that, I'm happy, man. I just, and I feel blessed to just be able to do this and be able to experience some of the things that I've experienced in the business. Getting to meet some of the people I've got to meet, getting to know some people, learning things, everything I've learned, even if it's a bad experience, you can take anything you want from any situation in life. Anybody can. You can take something good and positive out of it. And I try to get up every morning and keep that in mind, because you can dwell on it and be miserable and wallow around in it, or you can take something good, learn from it, and get stronger and build your faith on that. And that's what I try to do. It's hard sometimes because we are human beings, but, life's a struggle, and I'm not complaining. So,
well, I think you're on the right path, man, and having that mindset. I'm sorry. Not headset.
Good headset, too, though.
God dang. Long day, but I think you're heading in the right direction. Like I said, you were playing that show with Sonny and Ward. I saw them open for Cody at the Ryman last October, and that's a good rub to get, and that's good. That's a good exposure. And
I'm looking forward to that. I've had a lot of friends. I've never met either one of them, but I've had a lot of friends tell me that Ward is an awesome guy, and that I really like him.
It seems like a good guy. We seen him up in Knoxville as well, and he was, he come.
He's feeling good.
He was. He didn't come right out, but boy, whenever he come out, he was feeling good, and he was just, hugging and, sitting there taking pictures with everybody, and he seemed like a great guy.
Well, I'm a fan of them both, man, and I'm glad they're kind of part of this movement that's going on right now. I'm proud of all of them for doing it, because it's in turn it's falling back on some guys like me.
Mm-hmm.
That are, not as well known as they are, but maybe are on the way up a little bit.
Well,
I don't care about fame and fortune and money. I want to make a good living and just go around and play music and write songs and record albums when I can, and meet people. I'm happy with that. If I can do that.
I don't have any doubt. Much like Ward has played with Cody, and you're going to be playing with Ward. There's no way that fans are not going to leave that venue without buying an Andrew Pope album or a T-shirt or something and download it on iTunes. That's my personal belief. I'm kicking myself in the ass for missing the Nashville Palace show. Couldn't get anybody to go with me.
That was a good one, man.
Man, it was like on a Tuesday or Wednesday. I live an hour and a half away. I couldn't go by myself. I don't mind to go to a concert by myself, but I know I'd get hammered listening to that kind of music, and I didn't want to drive back an hour and a half by myself.
And Dustin, I'll tell you what, too, you would have especially liked it, because at the end of Shooter's set, Tommy Townsend from the Waymore's Outlaws, Shooter just produced an album on him.
Yep.
And he was there hanging out, and he's a big Hank Jr. nut like we all are, and Shooter got me and him up, and we all sang The Pressure's On.
I saw the video. It was awesome.
Oh, no, that was another night. That was me and Shooter, but this was back in April. Me and Tommy and Shooter sang it that night.
I thought I saw the video. Gary Hayes Country, Gary Hayes does a lot of reviews. He posted some pictures and videos of that night.
Oh, well, I hadn't seen it then, I guess.
Oh man, I was that was insult to injury for sure when I saw that. But
it was a good one, man. It was a full house, and I think wasn't it Tuesday night, Tuesday or Wednesday?
Yeah.
I think it was a Tuesday.
I'm pretty positive it was a Tuesday, and I was like, and some of the best stuff that comes to Nashville is a Tuesday or Wednesday, it seems like. But like I said, that's the disadvantage of living out here in the country on the farm. Is you can't always just get to Nashville on a Tuesday night if you don't want to. It's a lot of my buddies.
Yeah.
My wife's pretty cool. She actually is like, well, go. I know you want to check out him, and I know you love Shooter, so check him out.
Well, have you seen the Time Jumpers on Monday
at 3rd Lindsley?
Yeah.
I know. I've never made it out to a show. Man.
I've seen them twice, and it's unlike anything you'll ever see. It's Bob Wills, early Merle Haggard.
Oh man!
Just swing, Texas swing, honky tonk, mixed with a little old country jazz, Ray Price type stuff.
See,
Eddie Arnold. I mean, it is unbelievable what they can do.
I had no idea that's the kind of stuff they did. I've seen them there. I mean, they're there all the time, but I didn't know what they did.
Well, old Joe Spivey plays fiddle in the. Well, they got 3 fiddles in that band, but Joe Spivey's one of them, and he's been John Anderson's long time fiddle player. Well, he played on my last record, and he's in there, and of course Vince Gill is in it, and he's phenomenal. He's an even better guy. He's a great guy.
That's awesome.
And got one of the best guitar collections that any guitar collector could geek out and drool over in the world. I mean, it's amazing.
Oh man, that's good stuff.
Old Ranger Doug from Riders in the Sky plays acoustic and yodels and stuff. It's amazing. You got to check it out on a Monday night.
Okay.
I met Dickie Betts in there one night.
Who's that?
Of all people. From the Allman Brothers band, Dickie Betts.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't hear what you said.
I met him in there one night, and the Gibson was having a big guitar convention. He just came to hang out. Sitting out in the crowd.
Probably the craziest chance encounter I've ever seen. I bumped into Brock Lesnar one night after a Monday Night Raw at Tootsie's. That's another story for another day, but met a few wrestlers at Tootsie's after the shows like that. It was pretty good stories, but well, man, I hate to.
I've got some crazy Tootsie stories.
We're gonna have to get together. We're gonna have to get together, man, and we're gonna have to.
Let's do it.
We're gonna have to get some. Whether I don't care. I'll come to Alabama. I'll bring the beer and the Hank Jr. and we're gonna have to swap these wrestlers.
Yeah, come on, pull it on down with your truck and your trailer, and ice down the coolers and come on down.
Yeah. Hey, we need to talk off air about some stuff, about some other show potential opportunities and stuff. We'll holler at you off air, but man, a great interview. Yeah. I thought this was some fun stuff. Gonna Be Gone. The lead single off the record to come, that the Stoned on the One is the album from last year that everybody needs to go check out. You need to download that for sure. Here We Go, another solid album, his debut album, 2012. So go ahead and plug your social media real quick.
Well, you can type my name in anywhere and it should come up. It's just Andrew Pope.
The Andrew Pope.
Or you can type if it don't. It's the Andrew Pope. I hate that. Mm-hmm. But the reason I started that is because Andrew Pope was already taken.
I got you.
And I was probably had a couple of drinks, and I just was trying to come up with something original, and it ended up being original. But it sounds kind of like an arrogant thing, and I don't like it. But that's what it is. So
I say now it is what it is.
Andrew Pope on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and I'm on YouTube and everywhere pretty much.
All right, hell of an interview. I hope you guys have got to enjoy. And Andrew Pope.
Good interview. Good interview. Yeah. I'll come in hot right after a real good interview. I'll come in real hot like that. Fortunately, we're going to get to play one of Andrew's songs here.
Yeah, we're going to be playing the new single, Gonna Be Gone. I'd influence you guys to go check out other songs, Stoned on the One, Country Congregation, Everything's Changing But Me. Man, check out that Stoned on the One album, the last album he put out in 2017. Hell of a good record all the way top to bottom. The new single is Gonna Be Gone. We're going to play that for you right now, and we'll see you guys next week on the One Lane Road Podcast.
When the moon falls down and the sun stands up, there's a new old town I can't get to fast enough. Something in my soul takes my 2 good feet, points them toward the road and sets me free. I'm gonna be gone, 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 Lord, I'm gonna be gone. I'm here for now, but I can't stay too long. I'm gonna be gone, 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 Lord, I'm gonna be gone. When the morning wakes my window, I'm gonna be gone. fever's on a rise, steady as a stone, tearing up my eyes, tearing down my bones. A rowdy, ready crowd is my medicine. As long as I'm around, and there's another somewhere I ain't been, I'm gonna be gone, 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 Lord, I'm gonna be gone. I'll sing you some songs and I'll be rambling on. I'm gonna be gone, 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 Lord, I'm gonna be gone. When the morning wakes my window, I'm gonna be gone. Some say a drifter's heart is hard to understand, but to me the easy part is when I'm gone again. I'm gonna be gone, 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 Lord, I'm gonna be gone. Yeah, I'm here for now, but I ain't staying long. I'm gonna be gone, 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 Lord, I'm gonna be gone. When the morning wakes my window, I'm gonna be gone. Yeah, I'm gonna be gone.